Hey everyone, welcome back to another video and welcome back also to one of my Ficus Microcarpa that we're going to work a little bit on today. So it is definitely the start of cold season. I still see some new growth on this tree, so I decided to do some light maintenance work today on it. So we're not going too harshly on it, of course, at the start of cold season. What you try to avoid is to work very structurally on your tree. So you just want to make sure it is set up and nicely ready for the cold season. And that is what we're going to do today. So we're going to take the wire off that it has been on here for the entire growth season, actually. We're going to do some light pruning on some of the branches that have gone a bit too long for my liking. And we just look at the overall health of the tree, if there's something we need to clean up, and little maintenance work, as I said, that we're going to do on this tree. So I would say let's get a close-up of the tree and start working on it. So here we are. Let's give you a quick detailed look on this tree. As you can see, it is still very healthy looking. As I said, there's some new growth starting to show on some of the leaves up here. And of course, also first signs of cold season. So we have the one or the other rogue dieback here, also here in the back on this branch. We can take that out right away. So that is completely normal for ficus when the seasons are changing, that you do see some dieback on some of the leaves. That is not something to worry about. I would say we start right away with taking off the wire, and I tend to try to at least take it off in a way that I can reuse the wire. So we simply go in and unfurl the wire as good as possible, and of course without damaging the tree. So here we have a bit of a slope, and I think here actually I will cut the wire, because here I'm not sure we can get it out without damaging the tree. So we simply cut off this part. And then we see if we can still take out the last piece of wire here. Just unspool it. Then here we probably have the same thing, because I hooked the wire here to this branch. But in this case, it's a bit easier to take it out actually. So we can simply go around the tree here, once again taking it out. Even though the branches do seem quite thick already, I can definitely feel that they are quite malleable still, so there is some precaution you should take when taking off the wire like this. And we have one up here as well, where it really got bushy, I must say, over the growth season. So now looking closer at the tree, it really got quite bushy. And I think we're actually gonna take off this branch here that no longer really fits. So I'm taking this one off, because it was a bit too low for my liking here. And also from, if we see this at the front, it was simply a bit in the way. I think I left this on the last time to use it as a hook still for a back branch. And now, as it is quite nicely held in place by itself, we do not need this auxiliary branch any longer. So why not take it off right away? So of course, when you take off the wire like this, there's always one or the other leaf that comes off that is almost impossible to avoid. But of course, what we try to avoid is damaging the tree too much, or at all actually. So here you can see again, it gets a bit too crowded here to easily take it off. So I'm trying actually to do it from the branch itself, moving the wire, and then with one last bend we have to get around, we should be able to remove the wire as well. So the wire is off. It definitely keeps in place quite nicely already. So you can see it all is stabilized and fixed. I do enjoy the look of it. But as I said, really bushy, really crowded, and I think for my liking a bit too crowded, because what will happen is that a lot of the foliage that you have closer in here to the base will die back otherwise, as light conditions are changing and less light is going to reach these parts in winter. And the question is, of course, do we want that, or do we take some of the newer growth back and give the older growth here again a chance to still stay on the tree? And for example, on branches like this, where you can see a lot of new growth that is quite big actually in comparison, we definitely can take back 2 or 3 leaf pairs. So let me get my scissors and just take out some of the growth. It's probably just tip pruning that we're going to do here, so really just taking out the tips, which should be enough for today. As I said, start of growth season, we're not going to do major structural changes. We already took out one lower branch here that we can still clean up the wound a little bit. It actually seems it had already died back a little bit because it doesn't seem there was much bark underneath or anything underneath the bark. So I think it already probably snapped a bit when I did wire it. So not much of a loss in this case then anyway. But let's continue with going around the tree. Also here at the top of the tree, simply we go in, take out some foliage. As I said, just the tips. And of course, Ficus Microcarpa or Ficus in general, you have the white sap forming. If you are prone to react a bit stronger to it, of course, try to avoid touching it. Maybe also use gloves when you prune back a ficus if you already have seen that this is something you do react quite harsh to. So see, here is still very dense growth where we can also take the tip back. Of course, what I'm trying to achieve also is that new growth that is forming will form like, hopefully you can see here. So we have ramification here. So we cut back the tree, 2 new branches have formed. And of course, this is the overall goal that we have for this tree, to branch out as much as possible, to get a structure that is as intricate and as detailed as possible. We have a lower branch here. From the side, I think you can see it a bit better. I think if we consider this the front of the tree, which I would say, I would rather consider this the front, it definitely does make sense to keep this branch on as a nice back branch because it really fills out the area here. But I might still prune it back a little bit because the leaves are also here quite big. I leave this leaf on as the highest leaf because I want to have it grow a bit in this direction. Having this in the future forming as more of a singular pad on this side, while this fills out the back here of the main structure of the tree. So in the future we will have this hopefully grow then a bit more in this direction. So we have already cut a lot back. Here is the question, is growing directly in our field of vision if we see this as the front. So maybe we also do take this out completely in the future. For now, I'm not gonna take it out completely. I'm just also taking 1 or 2 leaves off and see how we go from there then once the next growth season starts. But I would say regarding really pruning the foliage, this is all we need to do for now to set it up for the cold season. As I said, nothing too drastic, just cleaning up the overall look of the tree a little bit, giving it a nice shape and a good start again then for the next growth season. If we look at the rest of the tree, there's also, I think, not much to do. We have some lower aerial roots here that I'm quite happy with, also here. Of course, we're not going to do any root work or something like this at this point in time right now. I can see here something growing that we can take out. What I already can see is, I have watered this tree, I think 2 or 3 days ago. I can still see that some of the little clay pebbles that I have in here are not fully dried out yet. So I can already see that for now, in comparison to growth season, it already takes a little bit longer again for the soil to really dry out. So that is something then, of course, to keep in mind when it comes to watering, to simply always keep a look on how long it takes the tree to dry out and how your watering schedule should be adjusted according to that. But for now, I think this is all we have to do on this tree. So there you have it, just a little maintenance work on the tree. What I'm actually still gonna do after this video is take a paper towel, a wet paper towel, and really go in on each and every leaf and simply wipe down all the dust that has maybe formed over the last couple of months. Of course, this also has the effect, apart from simply looking tidier, that it will help the tree to photosynthesize in the cold season because we take off basically everything that blocks off the UV light and give the tree the best setup for the cold season. If you have any questions regarding this tree, the maintenance I did on it, of course, feel free to leave that in the comments. I will answer them as soon as I see them. Hopefully I will see you in the next video, and until then, goodbye.